Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning, America, and good morning to the world on a whole. What's up? This is Van Edwards from New York. We got the illustrious Sky Juice from Puerto Rico, and we got Claire Clouds from Down Under. Good day, mate.
How you doing?
Hey, doing pretty good. Freezing over here in New York, while you two are in the subtropics over there, being cheap with the temperature. Don't want to lend nobody none.
Hmm.
Good morning, everybody. So, how you guys doing?
Uh, Yellow. I like your yellow page. Your yellow plate. That's good.
Yeah,
Doing
it's good
fine.
stuff.
I I had a weird night. I literally was feeling like queasy and went and sat down on the couch and just said, let me just sit here for a while. And I fell asleep and woke up at like 5 in the morning. And then I got up and my son was up, so I made him breakfast and I was straightening up the living room and what have you. And then I came in my room and fell asleep again. Wow.
I think that's expected. I mean, you guys are still on water. You guys are on your, I guess it's the 24th day. So I mean, going down the stretch, you guys will probably require a lot more rest throughout the day. What about you, Claire? Are you experiencing fatigue of any kind?
No, I was just resting. I was just resting a lot today. I didn't end up going out as I planned, but yeah, just getting plenty of rest in because still water fasting. I think it's important. Um, yeah, I was just watching Fed Up again actually just now, so it's good.
Yeah, whereas, Claire is able to rest, you're running like that farm. That probably has a lot to do with it. So you're very active, so good thing that Claire is able to do it. She didn't have to run around a lot. Neither did I. Like, even though I'm off of it, if I continue, good morning, Prema, if I'd continued on, these past few days, I really didn't have to really go anywhere, but to the market or, to a friend's house, but not anything strenuous. So that might explain why you're sleeping like that. It makes plenty of sense. Good morning, Prema. Are you able to speak or you're on your fast? She's on her silent fast. That I envy. I don't know if I could do that. I talk too much.
Right. They have silent retreat centers where people go away not to talk. It's amazing.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about that was years ago. I was a little kid, and Larry Hagman, who played in I Dream of Jeannie and also became even more famous with the role of JR in Dallas. I remember reading something where he said every Thursday he just doesn't talk the whole day. And I thought, even as a kid, even though I knew nothing about this type of stuff, I thought that was the most interesting thing that I'd ever heard. It's like, wow, that's incredible how somebody could just decide not to speak, all day long. And is that even possible in my life? So I envy you for that. Well, maybe one day I'll aspire to do that. Right now, no.
You got too much to say, huh?
I had a big mouth.
Hmm. So my niece said I can stay at her place, but she lives at Croton on the Hudson. Isn't that far?
I'm really not sure. I gotta look that. I heard of it. I think it's like it's probably. I gotta look it up before I say that.
I,
It's
it's
probably off
right.
of Manhattan or Jersey or something.
No, it's above White Plains.
Okay,
It's
that's
above
not
White
far.
Plains. It's above. I guess it must be in Westchester or something. I guess it takes
No, they're.
45 minutes to get into this get downtown.
Yeah, that's nothing.
No?
That's no, that's nothing. Yeah, that's there are railways for that, like Metro North, or I'm sure there are other methods too. That's really no big deal. When I'm going to work, it takes me like an hour and a half, and I'm going right into the city. So
Gotcha.
that's
And
just the
then
normal,
I
New York
wonder,
travel.
what did you call it? Metro North?
Yeah, Metro North is a railway. It's not the subway. It's more like a upper class subway. You pay
Well,
more, you pay more, but you have it's just a whole different level up. You also have the Long Island Railroad as well. That's considered a railway, but not the subway. And it's a
gotcha.
lot lesser time commuting. So if you were to take the public transportation, that usually takes longer and takes you out, and then you gotta, and it's a lot dirtier. And I mean, I don't mind taking the subway, but it's becoming a hotel for the homeless. Unfortunately, it's been so cold out. A lot of times you'll enter into a subway car, and there are several, homeless people there. And sad to say, but unfortunately, it smells very bad. It's just a terrible situation that I wish could be eradicated. To be honest, man, I hate it.
Yeah,
I hate it. I
yeah.
wish there was more. I wish that we all could just pull together and do something about that. But yeah, usually on Metro North and Long Island Railroad, that's non-existent. They're not having that. You know, they're not allowing anything like that to disrupt the passengers. Anybody making a scene, you're going to be thrown off. It's like that. That's why I love riding. It's more expensive though. More expensive.
Right. Well, that's unfortunate for it's unfortunate. You ever heard that conversation that there are enough abandoned homes that every homeless person could get like 3 or 6 or something ridiculous?
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about like. Wait, everybody has to mute. I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah, it's not about I don't want to bastardize the system. It's easy to do that, and I'm sure there are good, great people and great organizations that really want to help the situation, but there's so much bureaucracy and red tape that what tends to happen is that it becomes like about it's not really about helping anyone from what I see. It's never about helping someone necessarily. It's more about resources and money, because plenty of money is being made off of the homeless situation. I mean, you would think that it's not, but it is. It's so much nonsense that goes on, like to get help, which should be so easy. And then you got to consider the mental state that a lot of the homeless population is in. You'll see somebody walking the street, and they'll be talking to themselves, and they'll be bugging out and acting crazy, and everybody will have a judgmental view of that person. But you have no idea unless you walked in that person's shoes. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know how that happened. Mental illness alone is rampant. I'm sure worldwide, but definitely over here in the States. I mean, a lot of quote unquote crazy people, I don't look at them that way. I look at them that they're in their reality and they're sane as far as they're concerned. They don't think they're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. I don't know. But at the end of the day, so much could be done. It's just like feeding everybody in the world. There's enough food to go around to feed everybody handsomely, abundantly, without any problem. There's enough water. There's enough good food. But the bureaucracy prevents it. And it's the same thing with the homeless situation. So it's a really sad situation. And like I said, it's been so cold over here that you can barely get into a subway car, without it's like a hotel, and it's like there's no one there. Not that I would want them to be necessarily put out, but it is kind of hard to ride into your work because there's a horrible odor that goes along with that. So I mean, it's terrible. I'll mute.
They say you could tell how a place is by how it treats its poorest people. And it is, I don't know. There's something to be said about people who get to that point in life. Like, I can't even really imagine. For example, there's this guy who, his name is David. He is so cute. He is very intelligent. A van dropped out. Anyway, his philosophy is living without money. So he camps everywhere, he volunteers everywhere. He's physically like huge. He can do all kinds of physical labor. And the only thing he wants is like a place to sleep and something to eat, and he just keeps on moving. And I remember he came through when we had the cafe a couple years ago, and he stayed with us for about 3 days. And I was like, "Are you going to be offended if I ask you questions about your lifestyle?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, what about your family? What do they think about you?" And he said his father doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And then he went to go live with his brother for a little while up in like California. And he went dumpster diving and bought all this meat and veggies and all this food and eggs to the house. And they had too much food. They were giving food away. He was cooking all kinds of stuff. And his brother didn't want to eat anything because it came out of a garbage bin, even though it was still in the container, even though the quality was really good, and even though it was in bags already, it wasn't. It was just the thought of it. He didn't even want to eat it, so he ate it. But he's like, after a while, you couldn't eat anymore because it was just like so much food. So I don't know. That thought is to me um, is interesting, where the society is forcing us to have money. I don't know about that. What do you think, Claire?
Yeah, I agree. I was just thinking about like recently, like if we could all go back to the days of trading, because that would be really cool, where money wasn't involved. It would just be like, here's whatever for whatever. That would be really cool. But it's not happening. Um, yeah, the homeless situation is a big issue. Um, it's becoming more common even here in Australia now as well. You walk down the street and you see people holding up signs saying, you have any spare change and stuff. People approaching you in the street and asking for money. And yeah, it's become crazy because actually this one guy was I was shopping one day down the road, and I was just chatting to him, and I said, oh, he was homeless and he's sitting on the corner with the sign, and I was saying, you know, um, yeah, what I did actually, I didn't even ask him. I just went in and I bought some vegetables and fruit and whatever, and I purposely actually bought a bit too much because I thought, about this guy. Anyway, I went and had a chat with him afterwards, and I wasn't even gonna, because I didn't want to insult him, and I said, did you, how long have you been homeless for? And he was telling me his story, and he's saying that he was injured, and he showed me his scar, and he said, yeah, it's just people won't hire me, and it's been like a long time. And so I said, well, I hope you don't mind, like, how much food have you got to last you? And he opened his little bag, like, just had like ramen noodles and stuff. He didn't really have much. And I said, I hope you don't mind, and I hope you don't take this as an insult, but I just gave him a bunch of bananas and some strawberries, and he was really grateful. And it was like, and then it was raining, and everyone was like looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, come on, man, like, pay it forward, It's just like, but yeah, it's a big issue, and I think that's pretty cool though. That guy you were talking about, Sky, like, he's doing a lot for communities, and going around, not living without money. That's pretty cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, I mean, let me see if am I in? Oh yeah, you could hear me. I think it's beautiful to give service. It's just, um, how long can you do that, or can you do that forever? Like, there are times when I would love to do that. So, there are times when I would love to just unplug from this reality and be like a part of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
I don't know.
There's no easy answers, that's for sure. No easy answers. It's, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on, there's always going to be some force that's going to, oppose. It's always, when you try to do good, I mean, I hate to say it, and it's just, the people that could help, they can help, but they really don't. They'll donate some money and get a tax write-off, but it's more than that. It's so much more. And, I mean, I'm not trying to, at the end of the day, I mean, there's some good people out there doing some good things. Maybe I'm not doing enough, but there are answers. There are certainly answers, and the way it's going is not the way. I could tell you that. It's definitely not the way to go. And there's just not enough. The resources that are available are either not enough, or it's like a runaround. And that's the way this thing goes. It's like a runaround. It's like so much red tape, so much bureaucracy. If you call one number, they'll give you, oh no, well, this is not the number to call. You got to call that number. You'll end up on the phone for 3 days calling 1,500 numbers. You know what I'm saying? And they'll lead you back to the first one. And it's just a frustrating, frustrating existence with anything. Not just that, but almost anything you need help with. It's a pain in the behind. It's just. And some people just don't have the mental capacity to deal with the way reality is. And you know what happens. I mean, some people have been medicated through the school system for years, I remember, to make a long story short, they tried to get me to put my son on some, special ed medication bull crap, because me and his mom broke up, and he was acting out. So in school, he was acting out a lot, and they were saying, we need to have your son. You need to get your son evaluated. They were like leading me down the path of, of medicating him, putting him on that, on that behavioral medicine. And I tell them, hell no, I'm not doing that. And it becomes, you're risking jail time if you don't. Like a lot of parents that do that, a lot of times they, first of all, I feel like people give in too quick on something like that. Like I feel like you got to fight, even if you got to homeschool. I was prepared to homeschool my son. Whatever I had to do, I was going to do it. I was not putting him on that because I knew there was nothing wrong with him. I knew what it was. He was upset because me and his mom broke up, and that's all it was. And I got him a good therapist, and I got us a family therapist, and they recommended that there's nothing wrong with him. I had to fight, man. These people were on my ass, you know what I mean? But how many people don't have somebody to fight for them like that? You know what I mean? And then they start getting that medicine in them, and the medicine alters your behavior even worse. And the minute you come off of it, first of all, when you're on it, you're a lot of it spaces you out or whatever it does, and then when you stop taking it, that's where you have the problem. You know what I mean? So it's a huge issue. It's deeper than just, you see a homeless person and they're crazy. It's so much that goes into that. You don't know where that all began or what type of history they have or whatever, so it's a lot. It's a lot. I'll mute.
Did you hear what I was saying when you jumped off the call about my friend David? So basically, I'll kind of recap. He came to stay with us for about 3 days, and his philosophy is living without money. And so he traveled. I mean, he's been to Puerto Rico. He traveled the entire Puerto Rico. He goes from New York, Florida, California, Canada. I mean, he is everywhere. And all he does is goes to places where he can give service. And he sees the world. And sees, well, it's where, and I'm sure he's going to go from the US all the way down Mexico, and he does it all by walking, by helping. He's physically huge. Like, he just is very strong. He'll eat anything. And he stayed with us for 3 days. Some questions. And, I was like, I hope you don't mind me asking because I'm really just curious. And I was just asking him, like, how his family feels about him and stuff like that. And he said his dad doesn't want to have anything to do with him. His mom will help him out occasionally, like buy him a ticket, like to get from Florida to Puerto Rico. She bought him the ticket. He was staying with his brother in California and went dumpster diving and brought all this meat and eggs and veggies and all kinds of stuff that were still in packets and they were still good. It was just like the date went bad. And his brother didn't want to eat any of it and it was just totally turned off and wasn't seeing that all this abundance was free. And, he had more food than he could eat himself, and it was taking up space in the fridge and it was ridiculous. And I was just like, wow. I guess, when you're raised a certain way, it looks lazy, even though it's hard to say that to him, because if you ask him to help with something, he will do that sucker so fast and so good. So that's not a lazy person, you know what I mean? I guess the lazy part comes from the way we think about people should be working and hustling and running and going through the cold weather. Like right now, when it's cold like this in New York needs to just turn the heat up and keep the lights on and let people relax, because for folks to have to go out in that kind of weather, and they just should have heated trucks delivering veggies and fruit and meals and soup to everybody. That's what New York should do. They should just shut the whole thing down. Yeah, I'm not talking about the homeless. I'm talking about everybody. They just need to take the whole season off. But that probably sounds ridiculous.
Well,
Does
it's a
it?
thought. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
That's it.
No, it's a thought, but that could backfire too, because you do have the human condition that would never appreciate something like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, that sounds nice and everything, but there's also something to hustling and working and, moving about like, the way New Yorkers move about. It's poetry in motion. But if somehow you don't fit into that, that's where you kind of fall to the side. Just means that you shouldn't be here. you know for years and years I had that mentality, and that mentality is a great mentality, because like they said, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, and I believe that. But now I don't really want to live that way anymore. You know what I mean? Now I want to take a laid back approach. So but there's diamonds in the philosophy of being here in New York. It's definitely the training ground for the world. You know, I could go anywhere and survive, anywhere, and I know I got that. I got that fortitude by growing up in New York. So
Right, right.
you
I
know,
get that too. I was saying at some point that the reason why New York just keeps growing, just keeps being innovative on everything, is because it is contagious. And it's like, if you don't realize that you have to run for the bus, then you're going to miss the bus. So you better run just like everyone else who's getting to the corner of the block to catch the bus. In in the islands, for example, the bus will stop in the middle of the road. You understand? You understand what I'm saying? They don't even go to the corner. They just stop where you are. So it doesn't give you a hustle mentality, because in New York, if you don't run to the corner, the bus don't see nobody, he'll keep going. You know what I mean? And you sitting out there in the cold weather waiting for the next bus to come. And so, and then in the islands, the bus might leave you, but the car behind it with some people in it is going to give you a ride. You understand what I'm saying? So it's just a whole different world, and it's a different way to get on and get along. But New York creates a certain type of mentality. Here in Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans are always talking about New Yorkers, because a New Yorican is a different type of Puerto Rican. They didn't grow up with the roosters in the backyard and plátanos growing in their front yard. They grow up on an island thing, and New Yorkers, everybody in New York has to be on their hustle. So, a friend of mine, she's a waitress in a restaurant. She's like, oh, I can't stand New Yorkers. And I was like, why? And she's like, when they come here, they're just, everything they want is fast. They want everything fast, and then they really tip you based on how fast it is, and it's not your fault because the kitchen might be slow. So they're basing your service as a waitress on how fast the kitchen is moving. And I was like, well, yeah, being in the restaurant industry most of my life, yeah. So, but
yeah,
anyway, talk about your day 3 refeeding yellow color energy vibe.
yeah. Before I do that, I just wanted to respond to something you said. Yeah, well, the buses here will close the door right in your face,
Wow.
and they also will. I don't run for buses. I just don't. Well, first of all, I try to be early. Everybody has to mute. I think we're getting some feedback. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't run for them. I try to be early anyway. I don't run for them because they can see you running, and they will close the door. You could be 1 foot away from them. They'll just keep going. They don't care if you're old. They don't care if you're handicapped. They don't care. And maybe because they have to keep a schedule, but most of them, I hate to say it, are very mean-spirited. And when I see that, and especially for an elderly person, I tell the bus driver, "Yo, stop the damn bus." But they don't anyway. They don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care if you tell them that. You know what I mean? So it's a whole mentality. You know, like I say thank you to the drivers. Some of them don't respond. You know, it's just you know, it's one of those things where I I'm tired of that whole mentality of the rat on the wheel, and I want to relax. You know, I want to be in a different environment. I want to be around people that say good morning and thank you, because that's how I am. I'll say, "Hey, what's up?" You know, "Hey, how you doing?" And some people look at me like I'm from Mars. You know what I mean? And I just think that's the way it should be. Like, you should see somebody and greet them. You know, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, we're on day 3 of the refeeding process. For those of us that are no longer fasting at this time, we went to a certain limit, and we still have some brave soldiers doing the fast. Sky Juice and Claire Clouds are continuing till the end of the month, which is the 28th. But I myself and several others, I believe Mickey came off. I believe that Prema came off. Um, and you know, basically, you refuel the way you want. I would recommend you take your time and refuel properly. I'm going along with color coordination. The first day was the red color, which is the root chakra. So I ate primarily red foods. The second day, which was yesterday, was the in celebration of the sacral chakra, which represents the orange color. So I ate primarily orange foods. And today is the solar plexus chakra, which is represented by the color yellow. So today I'm going to be eating primarily yellow foods. I'll be eating bananas. I'll even cook some plantain. I'll eat some yellow plantain. A lot of nuts today. Coconut water, which is every day now. Um, you name it. Even spices. I'll have lemon pepper. Um, you know, if I was going to eat a sandwich, which I'm not, but if I was, I would try to get some natural mustard, lemons in my water today, pineapple if you can get. I couldn't find a ripe pineapple, so I didn't bother. But that would have been great. And I couldn't find ripe bananas either. You know, it was strange. I went to a couple stores. I didn't find any, so I didn't even get them. Those would have been nice to have. And yellow apples. The yellow apples would be good. So, I mean, you know, basically you don't have to do this, you know, but I would recommend you refuel slow, take your time, continue to hydrate, thoroughly. Just keep drinking the water like nothing ever changed. The only difference is you're now infusing your body with food, like raw juices, raw salads, and stuff like that. Smoothies with some powders in it. I would put and be careful of this, but I would put some maca powder in a smoothie. Sky knows what I'm talking about with that maca, so be very careful with that maca. Be very careful, and just things like that. So basically, that's what it's all about. The sacral chakra is basically about self-empowerment. It's about awakening the warrior in yourself. And there are several affirmations you could say. You could say something like, "Yes, I am empowered with respect and honor, and I honor myself." Something along those lines. You could say, "All that I do is a reflection of the value I have for myself." Something like that. You could say, "Yes, I am a powerful being of the universal life force." Stuff like that. "Yes, I reclaim my personal power. I recognize that I am worthy of the very best right now." Things like that, inspire you and wake you up. That's what the solar plexus chakra is all about. So, I just wanted to share that, and I'll mute from this point. And also wear yellow clothing.
Claire, you want to share?
No, I was just listening. I'm just looking
Okay.
up something. Yeah.
I just muted myself and started talking. So Van, maybe this is a good time to talk about our continuing radio personality program thing that we are going to do. Yeah? So basically, as you know, guys, we have been having these conversations for 21, 22, 23, 24 days. And most calls are supposed to be, well, originally a half an hour talking about water fasting. And I think, it's really good. The support is like we're in the room together and we're, conversating about it. But you really just sitting there talking about water fasting all day. It got, it's not impossible. It just, there's so much other things going on in the world. So we're going to continue doing this, but we're going to change the title, and we're going to call it Marinate with Sky Juice and Brother Nature, the herbalist, because Brother Nature is Van. He has a lot of names, but I like Brother Nature. And we're going to have all these conversations Monday through Friday, like we have been anyway, about various topics, not only health, but today we were starting to talk about homelessness. You know what I mean? And living somewhere and being grateful and catching the bus and bus driver, don't care. That is bigger than, refeeding on yellow. I mean, we can discuss the refeeding, which I know a lot of people are interested in, because they're going to click this video and they're going to find that we're on a whole different conversation. And then we're going to have to let them know that that's how we roll, because we just keep we keep your mind fed mentally, physically. Your body is clean, your mind is right, So so you gave me the idea today, Van, to put a message out there to see if I can locate a New York City bus driver, or maybe even any big major city, like Chicago or Miami or wherever, and see if we can get them to call in, if it's off their schedule, so that we can interview them. You understand? Wouldn't that be real interesting? And then also have somebody who lives without money. Like, these to me are interesting things to talk about, because I guess they could be random, but, there is this thing I was following for a while that I am so into. So, for example, say your house is foreclosed on and it's just sitting there, and literally, like, the sheriff comes and says you have till the end of the week to move out. A lot of people take what they can carry. Some people don't have any money to really move, so they just move out and go stay with friends or family. And they leave furniture, they leave all kinds of stuff, because they can't afford to do anything. Like, they can't even afford to sell the stuff, which is beyond my thought. But anyway, there's stuff in there. So I have to look it up, but I'm going to guess it was in one of the M states. I don't know if it was Michigan, Missouri, but it was one of the M states, and they created this organization on homeless people and former homeless people. And they would find these abandoned homes and take public domain over them. They would break in, right? But they would change the lock, and like, they moved into a middle-class community, a homeless mother of 3 children, into one of these abandoned homes. The home is technically owned by the bank, but the people who were paying on the house left the house. And so this organization does the research, they find the houses, they go check it out. The house even had furniture, okay? This woman was living in a shelter with her 3 babies, little young kids, and here a house is sitting there empty. So it's on YouTube somewhere. I got to find it. Anyway, it became a story, a news story, and they were interviewing neighbors, and they said it brings down the value of the homes and blah blah blah, and I had to work hard to buy this house, and the houses are like 165, 185 or something like that. You need to go and do the same thing. Having her just walk in the house. But the guys who were speaking on behalf of the organization are saying they were given statistics. They were kicking it with the statistics. They were like, in this city alone, there are like 200,000 houses, and they were just like blowing you away with, and they're like, there's only 50,000 homeless families. There's enough houses for everybody. And so I was looking up information about, it's called, what is that term called? I can't remember, but it used to be about land laws back in the great out west, when no one was on the land and people would have like 100,000 acres, and someone would set up a little campsite and build a house on it. And they were there, and they raised their family on it, and whoever owned the land never came around, they didn't ever bother them, because it's like so much land that these people had, they couldn't even get to it. And after the guy had like already bore children on the land, he owned the land. He owned whatever he was using. And those laws still exist. Like in Texas, it was also on YouTube. In Texas, this guy had like 6 of them, and he would go into affluent neighborhoods where the homes were like $300,000. The houses were foreclosed on. He would be in there for one. He'd break in, because that's the only way you could get in. Change the locks. From some kind of way, he got the lights turned on and everything. And if he was in there for like 1 month or 1 year or something, he could go downtown to the courthouse and say, and you take your little cell phone and take pictures of you in the house, and you painted the walls and everything. And he went downtown and he got his own house, and he kept doing it. And people were so outraged that he was getting a free house. And I was like, that is awesome. I mean, what the heck? It's sitting there. So I guess it's just a, I don't know. Tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, that's called squatters' rights. Yeah, that's not only in Texas and the M states. Yeah, there are people doing that. There are people doing that, and I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest. I mean, I understand the whole concept of, it's just sitting there, but there's also something called earning it too. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, and I don't know if I would want to celebrate that, but then again, if I was in that position, would I be willing to do it, but yeah, I mean, watch who you have come stay with you, because there's a certain amount of time that, let's just say you let somebody come and stay with you. You're trying to look out for them, and you put them up, and then y'all don't get along, or something happens, and then you say, you got to get out. It don't work like that. Now they have rights. You can't just throw somebody out of your house after they've stayed there a certain amount of time. But yeah, I've seen those things like that. There was this one kid, this one guy, he broke into an affluent neighborhood. It was like $1 million homes or whatever. And this guy, apparently the house was foreclosed on or something, and he broke in, and his mistake was he was having big parties. Like, he was angering the neighbors, instead of just chilling out, being low key, he was driving up, with with a lot of females and everybody kicking it on the stoop. Can you imagine that? You know what I mean? So yeah, I've seen those things. But yeah, there are a lot of laws that we don't know about, like the sovereignty laws. We're all sovereign beings. We're all, governed by nature and by the land, and there's still laws like that out there. We don't know enough about them, and they're not advertising them. It's something that you have to go and seek out and figure out. And there are a lot of organizations that'll come after you too, like say if you don't want to pay your taxes. There's really nothing in the Constitution that says you have to pay your taxes, but you better believe that if you start going through the Morris sovereignty law business, you better make sure you know what you're doing, because they're going to come for you. You know what I mean? And those laws change all the time. But yeah, if you're up on the law and you have great organizations behind you, you could live off this land for free. You don't have to pay nobody anything. You don't even need a driver's license. You don't need a driver's license. But there are laws in place. You just got to know the argument, because if you're ever stopped, and you got to know how to talk your way out of that, and you must know the law. I mean, that's on YouTube too, where cops have stopped guys and they were filming it, and and it took about 2 hours, but the cop had to let him go. You know what I mean? And not just in down south, here in New York too. Like, you really don't need a driver's license. You really don't need you don't have to pay for damn near anything. It's your right. It's your right to have it. You're supposed to have shelter. You're supposed to have food. There are laws that that say that, but we don't know them, and there are laws that say something else based on what man wants and money and all that. So you would just have to know the law. There are laws that you could probably go into a supermarket. Well, it used to be you can go into a supermarket and start eating and decide, you know what, this is stale. But meanwhile, you ate. You ate food, but you didn't like it, so you don't have to pay for it. They used to be like that. I don't know about now. I wouldn't do it, but you know that's the case. There's a lot of things out here that we just don't know about, and we're probably not bold enough to actually have the nerve to do it. But I don't know. It's a catch-22 with that stuff. I'm gonna mute.
Forgot. I start talking and then I realize that I'm still muted. I think there is, of course there's a risk, you know what I mean? But they should really, like, I guess it's not important enough, like, for cities and states to worry about it, because not enough people are bold enough to go through that. But when people start doing it, like organizations are helping people get into some of these abandoned homes, then that's when it's gonna be a lot more, noteworthy, and they're gonna change. Like, for example, here in Puerto Rico, of course I looked up the laws here, and you can't it won't even work, because they have a 30-year law. So in order to claim a property yours, you have to be on that land for 30 years, and that's a whole generation. And then you can go to the court and say, hey, we've been on this land for 30 years, here's proof, and we want to claim this as our own. And you're going to be out of luck, because I was talking to a real estate attorney, and here in Puerto Rico, everything is very official. Like, when you have to go get a notarized letter or anything document, you don't go to the bank like most people do in the States. You go to a lawyer, and it's not free or $5. It's $25 starting. If it's a long document, it could be like 100. Anyway, so I went to a real estate lawyer, and I was just talking to him about this law, and he said that there was someone in the pueblo who found this house that was abandoned. They moved in. They fixed it up. They repaired the roof. They painted it. They did everything. They moved in. The place was a nice, cute little casita. What they didn't investigate was, well, they knew the owner was no longer on the island. But what they didn't realize is the house across the street from them was the sister of the owner. So she was keeping tabs. And basically, they probably had a conversation about it. And he said, oh, they want to renovate? Go ahead. So they renovated the whole thing, living in there for a few years. Place nice, well kept, home, everything. Then he comes down, goes to the courthouse or goes to a lawyer, whatever, and files that this is his property and people are living on it. And when he brought him, he's like, hi, this is my house. When he brought them the documents, they had to leave immediately or get arrested, regardless of what they did, how much money they put into the house, or what have you. They had to go. And so he basically got his house fully renovated, water pipes running, everything well done, because they just felt, and there are a lot of houses here in Puerto Rico, just a lot of houses, because what happens is you have a huge population of people who leave the island, okay? And they're in New York, Chicago, Orlando, Texas, California, wherever in between, making their little American dream. And the abuela, depending on life, the grandmothers, the grandfathers, they're either up there with them or they died. So these little houses are sitting there. They're sitting there so hardcore. The trees are growing over, through, around them. They're abandoned. So the windows are taken out. The door is gone. If you leave it again, they come in and take the copper out the wall, the pipes, everything. The toilet seat, the toilet bowl, the sink, everything that is not concrete will be taken out. And your house is like, you've lost thousands and thousands of dollars in value by the time you leave this house alone. And it's just devastating. You know, it's like, you know, everything that you've worked for is gone. And the truth of the matter is that little old house might have been that, you know, that house that you know, Graham, that you grew up in or what have you, but it really isn't suitable. You know what I'm saying? It really isn't like suitable for living. So when you come down to Puerto Rico, you're not staying there anyway. You're going to go stay in the condo or a hotel or with the family that actually has the big house. And so there's just all these little houses that are very cute with the potential to make nice little casitas that are sitting around all over the place, ridiculous. And they will never be taxed out because there's a law for houses under like $100,000 that even if they owe 99 years in taxes, they're never going to take them over. They will just sit there and rot, you know. So there actually are people who have taken them over, like especially like the neighbor. And it might be a cousin or it just might not be. The neighbor will sit there, look at the house, watch it. Nobody's around, try to find out, well, where's such and such, where's Tia? No one comes around, no one looks over the house for years. They go in that house, clean it up, tear it up, fix it up, and they start renting it out and make a little side money. You know, that happens so much here. And the cool thing is they're not jeopardizing their own life because, you know, they have their house. They're making money. So, yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on with that here. So, but I don't know. We could probably, you know, end the call now. That was random, but it just, you know, interesting conversations.
Well, it's what we discuss here on Marinate with Sky Juice and Brother Nature. You know, we cover it all. You get life. All right, everyone. Prema, nice to have you. I hope to do that silent fast one day. That's very impressive. Clear clouds. I know you're getting ready to go to the club, so we're not gonna hold you any longer. All right. Sky Juice,
Talk
always a
to
pleasure.
you. Yes.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, whatever that means to you. And if I have to go into the city today, I'm gonna try to interview a homeless person. I'll probably,
Oh,
yeah, I'm gonna try if it seems feasible. If somebody's bugging out, I ain't gonna do it. But I sometimes, I'll donate. Like if somebody's on the curb, and I'll put $1 or two in the cup. And some of them claim to be veterans or what have you. And sometimes, a conversation starts. So I'm going to use the opportunity to, inquire and say, can I speak to you? Like, how did this happen to you? Now, how did you end up here? And I'm going to ask some questions, and I'll donate some money, for the interview. So that's if I have to go. Well, my next time in the city, I don't know if I'm going today, but the next time I go, I'm going to see if I can interview someone, and I'll record it and I'll send it to you, and then you can put it up.
nice. Record it on your phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be interesting.
yeah. So I'll do that.
Sounds good. All right. Well, I will talk to you guys later.
All
All
right,
right.
guys. Thank you. Appreciate
Have
it.
a good
All
evening.
right.
Take care,
See
guys.
ya. Bye.
Mickey, take care, Mickey. Later.